All right, so let's talk to our esteemed caller. So
Gonna
let me
set it
just
up first a little bit before we bring him in.
yeah, I will right now. All right, so this whole thing started when this dude Marc Elliot emailed me a few weeks ago. I'll read the email to you guys that I got. As you guys know, did you let me know when that's done, Dan? As you guys know, I have a lot of interest in NXIVM. I am a believer. I think Keith Ramirez is a modern day genius, and he's been unfairly slated as a villain. So does Mark. Mark is an award-winning speaker who lived with Tourette's syndrome for 20 years and then beat it completely, mind over body. That shocked me.
That's quite a claim.
And now with the now infamous company NXIVM, he was recently featured in the third episode of the documentary The Vow on HBO. We've talked about The Vow on this show. He actually, and good for him, he sued HBO or was it someone else?
Someone else. A different documentary that was on Stars, I believe it was, called Seduced. That was also about the NXIVM group.
Yeah, check chat, please, Dan. He said, oh, it is. Okay, good. Now he said, I recently saw your coverage of poking holes in the Andrew Tate narrative, which is true. Now, I've been critical of Andrew Tate, but I think he does a lot of good things too. And it's just not fair. All he wants to do is help a generation of men. And then so what? He's the bad guy? Men need a voice. That's where me and Marc Elliot agree. Given your commitment to pursue truth and openness to challenge prevailing narratives, Mark said in his email to me, I believe you would be fascinated with my story and the recent developments that have unfolded in the case against Mr. Ramirez. Specifically, 7 digital forensic experts, including 4 former FBI, have come forward with evidence showing that with scientific certainty that the FBI tampered with the child prawn digital evidence in the trial. Keith was convicted of having child P word and, all kinds of other horrible stuff, which he's all innocent of, according to Mark. Also, the one thing that I find really interesting about Mark is that through NXIVM and with Keith's teaching, Mark, who has Tourette's syndrome, is complete. He just said, I'm done. He did, my mind is more powerful than
matter.
this. And I'm done with Tourette's, he said. So he asked me, would you be open for a short call? He says, I have no doubt you will be at least very intrigued. Thanks for your time. So that's Mark, inspirational speaker. And I said to myself, I am interested. I do want to talk to Mark. And so Mark is actually on the phone, and we've been setting this up for a couple of weeks. So Mark, whenever you're ready, there he is. Thanks, man, for being here. It's so awesome to meet someone like you.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. No, I can hear you great.
Okay, perfect. I heard a little bit of the introduction. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. So why did you reach out to me? I guess, first of all, I'm curious about your whole journey. Maybe you could start there.
Well, as I had wrote you in the email, myself, my team, we had been researching different people that are willing ultimately to challenge the status quo.
Right.
And of course, the Andrew Tate was one of the biggest stories. It was an international story. And there was, some people like yourself that were willing to at least question.
Right. So in my opinion, this man is about to go to jail for a long time. And that's fucking awesome, by the way. How does anyone think this guy's cool?
Reply, I'm the type of guy, bitches on the side. I'ma spend the money, we can spend a little time.
With our situation with Keith and NXIVM is that there has been basically one narrative for the past 5 years. This actually started about 5 years ago. It was in 2000. It was in October of 2017.
Now,
when
just
the New
to
York
clarify,
Times article.
Keith Ramirez is the leader, I guess I don't know what's the correct term, of NXIVM, and he was convicted for, geez, it was like 7 different felonies, huh? But
So
he
was
didn't do any of it.
Yeah, so I'll definitely get to all of that. What he was convicted of many different things, including sex trafficking, forced labor, racketeering,
wire
and
fraud.
although I believe wire fraud. Yeah. Now, although I believe he's innocent, that's ultimately not why I reached out to you.
Right.
It was given the fact that the narrative was basically an international narrative creating this, basically was a hate campaign against Keith Raniere and NXIVM and the community.
Sure.
Anyone that was trying to speak out was basically vilified. Anyone that came out in support of, forget Keith, even just came out of support of NXIVM was vilified in the media.
I actually really support NXIVM. I think it's super interesting what they've been able to do. I want to say Andrew Tate, I totally poke holes in that. Like, I don't know if you've been following the case in Romania, but like there's so many red flags that says he's innocent. I don't know if you've been following that.
I haven't been following it closely. Obviously, it's definitely been something I've been watching from afar, as it seems like there's just a lot of similarities in the fact that, we live in a time that if you make someone a monster in the media, it's, guilty, basically you're guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
The authorities can then ultimately do whatever they want to the person.
Sorry to cut off. Actually, Keith was convicted of 7 crimes, though.
Yeah, the reason I said that is because before the trial even happened, he was already vilified and made it a monster. You even have, even on the Dr. Oz show, this was before Keith was even arrested. You have Dr. Oz saying on national television that Keith raped and tortured women.
Oh my God.
Now, just so you know, even after he was convicted of these charges, and this is what's mind-blowing for a lot of people, Keith Raniere, who's this alleged sex cult leader of an international sex cult, if you actually look at the charges and the evidence of what he was convicted for, there's not a single charge. This is crazy. There's not a single charge of violence, weapons, or drugs, and there's not a single charge of Keith Raniere having sex with someone.
Well, let's see here. Count 2. Let's see. Sexual exploitation of a child. He was convicted of that, right? Because I want to clear his name with you. So he was convicted of sexual exploitation of a child, possession of child pornography. He was convicted of trafficking for labor and services, extortion, sex trafficking, forced labor, attempted sex trafficking. So he tried and failed, but in other ways he was successful. That's what they claim, right? But it's outrageous that and he was never, he was never violent, and so that kind of says it all, huh?
Yeah, I want to be super clear. There's most of what people have heard about Keith in the media, and then what the government, put out there in the media as well, is, in my opinion, completely false, and most of it is completely fabricated.
Right.
Again, that's not my intent of why I wanted to come, on and talk with you guys. Obviously, if we had longer, conversations, we could look at more specifics and things about Keith Raniere and who he is as a person. But in the emails, why I got in touch with you is that one of the things that happened right before the trial, here you had an investigation for a whole year, and there were 6 co-defendants, and this whole case was about consenting adults. And then 55 days before trial,
it was also about wire fraud, trafficking, racketeering, child pornography.
Yeah, so those were all the different charges.
Okay.
But even with
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just to be clear though, even with all of these horrific charges, sex trafficking, forced labor, racketeering, none of the co-defendants had pled guilty. Wire fraud. None of them had pled guilty, which is almost unheard of in federal court. I think it's like 97%.
You couldn't flip them because they're innocent. There's nothing to flip.
So the thing is that 55 days before trial, all of a sudden the FBI found child pornography. And when I say child pornography, they found 22 photos of a nude woman on an external hard drive. It wasn't on his computer. It wasn't on a camera. It was on a random external hard drive in a residence that many people frequent in. It wasn't even Keith's home. So, of course, the moment they found that, it completely changed the whole dynamic of the case where now you have minors involved.
Right, and
not only
they
did
could have
charge him with-
planted it. I mean, the FBI has a track record of doing stuff like that. I mean, they're just monsters. The FBI, I don't trust them at all, and I think they probably planted it. But my concern, at least just from the optics point of view, because again, I'm on your guys' side. Camille was a 15-year-old who testified. She wrote a victim statement, impact statement, that said that he actually raped her when she was 15. And she put out a statement and all that. It's crazy. She said she met him when he was 13. And then when she was 15, he was 45 and he slept with her. But that's just, why was she lying like that?
Yeah, so I want to make something very clear. I don't support sexual assault against women in any way.
No, I know.
Any of my friends
of course.
who are out there. I just want to make that very clear,
Of
as it's a very
course.
sensitive subject.
Yeah, of course.
What I was saying, though, and then I will get to she did say those things, but what's important to realize is that the child pornography was all of a sudden found 55 days before trial, and then all other co-defendants pled guilty. So not only was he charged with possession of child pornography, he then was also charged with sexual exploitation of a minor, which is probably one of the most egregious charges somebody can get against them, charged against them, which ultimately is a death sentence for many people.
Yeah, and just to go back to what you're saying, 55 days before trial, it's like, when did they have the time to investigate that,
Well, they also had this hard drive and this alleged camera for over a year.
So yeah,
that's the context which happened right before trial. Yes, Camille, her name is Cami. She did give a victim impact statement, but what is important for people to realize is that a victim impact statement is after the trial is over, after the verdict. So it's a statement not given under oath. Well after the trial was over, and she also didn't testify.
You think she's lying, essentially? I mean, or at least there'd be no consequence to her lying, right?
That's my point. I'm not here to debate whether or not.
Yeah, you don't want to call her a liar. I get it. But you know what's crazy?
What I'm saying is.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
What I'm just saying, it's important that if we want to live in a society that has due process and we care about justice, it's important to question.
Absolutely.
It's important to question. And my point is, if somebody gives a victim impact statement and says, I was raped and this happened, I'm not saying that's not true, but you can't say that that's ultimately true due process when someone's not under oath.
For sure. There was no trial.
And that's my point.
There was no trial. Like, why was supposed to take her impact statement seriously when there was no trial?
That is my point.
Okay.
What I do know, which is under oath and sworn statements, is what I got in touch with you about with respect to, we now have 7 digital forensic experts, and this is what's incredible. 4 of the 7 are former FBI.
Before we go down that thread, I just wanted to mention, and I don't know if this is an issue for you guys, but there was 15 other victim impact statements from all different individuals. So that's like, dang, how do we get over that?
Again, if we had like a 3-hour podcast, I can go into different things. This is the short of it, though, just to even answer. Like I said, my intent wasn't to try to defend or combat like all these different allegations. But again, what people don't realize, the way that the narrative was out there, is that 17,000 people from around the world took these courses. Okay. 1 in 400 of participants in the classes that Keith had created were billionaires. We had people from Stanford, from Harvard, entrepreneurs. These were very thoughtful, rational people taking courses that had a profound effect on their life.
Right? I mean, Scientology is the same way, and they get vilified too. They have tons of famous people, tons of rich people, and it's unfair that Scientology is vilified, don't you think?
I haven't taken Scientology. I don't agree with. But my point is, I don't agree with character assassination, or speaking badly about a group just because they're different or you don't like them. But the reason I mentioned about the 17,000 is that if you actually look at the trial, in the NXIVM trial, there's actually, out of 17,000 people, I think in the trial, don't take my word for it, I think there's only 3 people that were students of the 17,000 that were even claiming they were victims of a crime.
So the only
Three out of
only
17,000. So,
three people claimed that they were molested by Keith.
well, no, they weren't even claiming that they were
oh.
molested. There's not even. This is like how the insanity and the exaggeration of what's out there.
Right.
There's not a single charge of Keith assaulting or raping or hurting anyone means of violence. There's nothing in the trial of that.
Right. There's no violence. They're only saying he coerced them, but that's not really a crime, is it?
Well, that's what they're claiming. But
Right.
my point is that if you want to look at the reality, if you even want to say that everything that happened in the trial is true,
Yeah.
this is a man who's now convicted and sentenced to 120 years without any violence, weapons, drugs.
Right. And I'm with you 100% because coercion's not even a crime. Like it's not illegal to manipulate people. It just means you're smarter in a way. You know what I mean? Like if you're able to manipulate people to do what you want, it just means you're smarter.
So again, and this is a whole conversation about, things in the trial.
Right.
But the bigger issue, the thing that is, I think, vital and relevant to everyone who's listens to you, and then also just all citizens in the United States. We now have 4 former FBI agents that were digital forensic experts that have come out that under sworn testimony shows that the child pornography evidence was to a scientific certainty tampered with and also planted.
That is very
some
concerning.
of the evidence points that some of the modifications took place while in the possession of the FBI.
That is very concerning. So what is So what's the goal here? To get a retrial for Keith?
Well, the ultimate goal is trying to investigate these crimes.
Right.
There's clear beyond probable cause that crimes were committed by FBI agents and potentially even the prosecution and maybe other entities as well in the DOJ.
So we're going to
and that is an
retry
effective
Keith.
that.
Yeah.
Because crimes were committed against someone who is being tried in a trial to convict them, that person should ultimately be let free.
Let him free.
And so Keith,
let free Keith. Well, what's interesting is that, first of all, the FBI is a criminal organization just from the start. I mean, it's insane the things that they've done to people, like tampering evidence in the case of Keith. But I think that because they did that, we should probably just expunge the extortion, the identity theft, the forced labor, the conspiracy to commit identity theft, exploiting of a child, forced labor. Wire fraud, and so we should expunge all those, huh?
It took me a second to get your humor because there's also a little delay. I was like, is he making a joke? I was like,
yeah,
oh,
I know. Sorry, I just yeah, but so what do we do about those other ones, right? Because we got to convince everyone that Keith is like a cool dude.
Well, this is what I'm saying is that we don't need to convince anyone of how cool he is. Someone can think that Keith Raniere, they can believe he's the devil. That's ultimately irrelevant and a distraction to the reality of, did this person receive due process? If we want to live in a society that we want to have a justice system that treats everyone exactly the same, whether you think someone is the devil or you think someone is Mr. Rogers, they should be treated exactly the same under the law. Now, if it's the case that the government actually had evidence on Keith Raniere, then the question then becomes, well, why would they need to fabricate and tamper with evidence?
Right. That is the question. Free Keith. Actually, I want to talk
just to answer.
Oh, go ahead. I wanted to ask you about your
last thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to make one other comment because you said, as I know you were being facetious about all these other charges.
Yeah.
If you again, there's these buzzwords of sex trafficking and forced labor. Yes, those on its face value sound horrific.
Right, but what does it even mean?
Exactly. Like when you think of, if you heard that you're, someone that got charged with sex trafficking, what would you imagine?
Yeah, I would imagine somebody was locked to a, you know, what do you call? Yeah, locked to a
Furnace.
radiator, forced to do like
A radiator.
webcam work, or you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's that, by the way, is a real thing. Sex trafficking, people being kidnapped, forced into sex slavery is a real thing. If you actually look at the evidence of what happened in this trial, you have a 29-year-old female who is an actress living in Manhattan, who is a part of the NXIVM community. She was taking classes. She was in a relationship with Keith. She also had a history of being more kinky. Together, they had come up with an experience where, and this is literally, if you look at the transcripts, this is what happened. One woman, this 29-year-old, received oral sex from another woman and no money was exchanged. She took a bus from Brooklyn to Albany.
Right.
And they convicted Keith Raniere of sex trafficking.
Just because she was kinky.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
Right.
The same woman, the 29-year-old actress, she's also the victim of the alleged forced labor. This is a woman who had to transcribe 5 hours of video for a memorial, and she read 50 articles that Keith had written, and she gave feedback on them and actually loved reading them. He was convicted of forced labor.
Because she wasn't paid for her work, or what?
Well, that's what they were claiming.
And how old was
they were
she?
able to concoct. She was 29 years old. But my point is that there's what's in the media, which isn't, and of course, if you hear these words, it's not like I don't hear these things, forced labor, sex trafficking, and it causes me to have caution. And I'm like, holy crap, what happened here?
But this one sounds really bad, and hopefully, because you have such an intimate understanding and you have a great way of explaining it. So how do we do the sexual exploitation of a child? Because that one sounds so bad. So how do we break that one down?
That one is also related to the child pornography, as I said. So they found 22 photos of a naked woman. Now, by looking at the photos is not how they realized that it was child pornography.
But it's women he knew, right? It was girls he knew.
Yeah, these are women that he knew.
Yeah, and so somebody had pictures of them naked when they were kids. But it wasn't Keith.
Well, no, but this is if I could just finish real quick, is that the 22 photos were not deemed child pornography because they were photos of some sexual act. The way that they deemed them to be child pornography was based off of the file dates. And based off of the file dates, they then said when the photos were taken is when this person
they probably didn't even look like kids in the picture.
That's what that's my point is that by looking at the photo, they weren't deemed child pornography.
And I mean, if you saw the photo, which you should get a hold of those photos, they probably look like adults.
I have not seen the photos.
Oh, you haven't?
Those are, those are contraband photos.
Right.
But my point is that, again, when you hear the word child pornography, it incites, all these horrible images and fears. But what we're talking about is not on someone's computer, not on their camera, not on a camera card, in a random external hard drive. There's 22 photos of a naked woman who they deemed was underage because of the file dates. So just the last thing is, the sexual exploitation of a minor is because supposedly they were able to link through a media card and from a camera, and that media card, to a scientific certainty by 7 digital forensic experts, 4 former FBI, was modified while in the possession of the FBI because they were able to link that media card to a camera that's allegedly Keith owned. That's how he was charged with sexual exploitation of a minor.
That's so ridiculous that that's all they need.
Wait, I don't know if you're being
no, I'm dead serious. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's scary, the world we live in, where and people can just say whatever, and then you just change the data on a file card, and that's all it takes. It's It's scary. As a man, I'm scared of that.
Everyone should be scared of this. This is why the reason we're trying to reach out to people is because the narrative is so strong, and the prejudice against Keith and NXIVM is so intense, is that basically it stops people from having a rational, open conversation about, wait a minute, what actually took place here? And what took place here is not just, there was some prejudice in a trial, is that clearly you have government actors, specific personnel in the FBI. And again, this is not an attack on the whole FBI.
Actually, there's one thing I want to get your thoughts on here. So Camilla's the one who he apparently had photos of. That was
Yes.
the 15-year-old girl who did an impact statement, or she did an impact statement and said that he took her virginity when she was 15, which is outrageous. I mean, you can't. The thing is, you can't. If she was willing, what's the problem? I don't get it. But anyway, right? You understand that,
Again,
right?
whether or not that happened or
It's
didn't
not
happen,
assault if she liked it, and Keith is awesome.
I'm starting to, I'm feeling your humor a little bit more. Like I said, there's a little delay as well.
So Camilla,
I just want to be
Camilla,
super clear again. I don't support sexual assault, rape in any way.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be able to be a referee about what he said or she said or what happened behind closed doors. What I do know is that I don't believe that somebody giving a victim impact statement that isn't under oath, which is basically no different from somebody going on Twitter and saying, I was raped by this person.
Right. It's just
with absolutely
so,
no due process.
Right. Because
could be looked at.
He doesn't even know them. So it's like the same as a random tweet. Like they've never even met.
No, they
do
have
know
met
each other.
Ethan.
Okay. Shit.
They do know, but they do know each other.
They do know each other.
But do you understand what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So so this girl, Camille, she said in her impact statement that Raniere and his co-conspirator, who also trafficked Daniela for labor and services, said they confined her to a hotel room, or to a room, for nearly 2 years in an attempt to force Daniela to work for him. And then Daniela was told that if she left the room, she would be sent to Mexico without any identifying documents. So that's probably what they mean by like sex trafficking or forced labor, but that's just someone on Twitter just making shit up.
Well, did you see the second season of The Vow?
No, I didn't watch the second season. Was that? Yeah.
Gotcha. I don't blame you.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
It's incredible. Again, from just the label of somebody, I think it's document servitude. That sounds horrible.
Right.
But again, if you just look at the facts, this is a young girl who is who is in a room in her family's home.
Okay.
Like she was in a room and the door wasn't locked.
Right.
And if anyone questions me on that, this is incredible. This is how amazing how a documentary can seemingly put eerie music on something and make it seem horrific.
Right.
In the documentary, they're actually doing a voiceover of her reading from her lines from the court transcript. So they're reading it verbatim from what she said in court as she was testifying under oath. And at the very end of this episode, as she's talking about how she's been confined to this room for 2 years.
Right.
Do you know how the scene ends?
How?
She says, and then I walked out of the room.
Oh, because she could have left the whole time. They don't really put
because
that
she
out
could have.
there.
Of course, but it's it's the scary music and it's haunting and this illustrations and the cartoon and it's.
Right.
But the way that it's in the media, it sounds as if Keith Raniere kidnapped this person.
I understand.
Put them in a room.
Yeah. I want to ask you,
and that is the issue of again of why I reached out is that in the media can do whatever they want and paint anyone with whatever colors they want to create a certain image, and that does not necessarily match the reality of even just basic facts.
Because it's basically her fault for not leaving the room, and what's even crazier is that the whole jury they all got. I don't know how the whole jury agreed on that, but I want to ask you about your experience with Tourette syndrome. I'm super, super fascinated by this. This is so this is why kind of NXIVM is kind of interesting, because everyone always just kind of sees like the bad side. That's what's famous now. But NXIVM actually has been helping people in these incredible ways. For example, you had debilitating Tourette syndrome, right? And then I think you joined NXIVM, and Keith was able to help you overcome it totally, like totally cured. Like your Tourette's is 100% gone.
So yes, the answer is I no longer have Tourette syndrome.
Wow.
And it was through the courses that Keith created. It wasn't even one-on-one sessions with anything like with Keith.
Wow.
It was, he had created a curriculum that was around the world. Like I said, 17,000 people took it. I went through the classes just like everybody else. But as I went through them and started to build more self-awareness about myself, I mean, ultimately the courses are classes on emotional intelligence. You know, we had a center here in New York City on 5th and 37th Street, you know, where it's just, you go and sit in chairs and you have conversations with people.
And that cured your Tourette's?
That is
just having
so
that.
I just want to be clear. It's not.
Go ahead.
Yes, it was through these conversations and through these classes, which were a lot of them were philosophical inquiries about different aspects of life. There were practical things. It was also a goal-setting thing for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And it was through these classes and these conversations that beat my Tourette's completely mind over body.
Wow. And so what is it that you tell yourself? Like, just stop ticking. Like, come on, don't be a pussy or whatever. Or I know, I'm joking. I don't mean it like that. But like, I'm over this shit sucks. Tourette's is fucking annoying. And I'm just over it.
Yeah, so it's not like that at all. The most simple way that I can describe it is that I've always talked about Tourette's is like there's an itch and there's a scratch.
Oh yeah.
And the Tourette's is that uncomfortable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ticking is me scratching that itch. And most treatments and the way that we look at Tourette's is, you know, okay, how do we just help the person with this dynamic? So if you take medication, it numbs the itch.
Mm-hmm.
So that stops you from wanting to scratch it because you don't feel the intense.
Stop it? Like, if you're talking to someone with Tourette syndrome, what would kind of be your advice to them? Because I know it's just a horrible disease for the people who haven't cured it for themselves yet. And I feel like this knowledge, what would be your advice?
Well, I don't say, just to be clear, I've never said, and so we actually had a documentary that came out. It's called My Tourette's. It's on YouTube for free now.
Okay.
Sadly, almost no one in the world knows about it. It came out after, the negative press, the real negative press, started coming out about 5 years ago.
Okay.
But in this documentary, you watch these profound transformations of people beating Tourette's mind over body. But even in the movie, we don't say it's a cure. This is not it. We didn't have a cure for Tourette's. Clearly, we had a set of tools for people that were open and wanted to go on a different type of journey. You know, go on more of a looking inward.
But you guys did cure
for
it.
some.
You said it's 100% gone. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. That sounds like a
I just
cure.
don't say. The reason I don't say cure is because also I just don't think of it as something that you can cure in that way. I have like a completely different. I don't even think of it as a medical disorder in that way now. But
what
I just want to be super
it?
clear is that I don't know if we could help everyone. I don't know that the people that we helped wanted to be helped.
Okay.
If someone wants to lose weight, they could have the best trainer in the whole world. But if they don't want to lose weight,
but weight's
doesn't matter if you got Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, but being fat is not a neurological disorder. So that's what really interests me. Because to all the literature, it says Tourette's cannot be cured. So it's incredible.
Look, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, right.
I lived with it for 20 years. I became a well-known inspirational speaker around the country, talking about Tourette's, living with Tourette's. My whole life was based off of Tourette's.
I can't imagine how hard that
I
must
get
have been.
It was, so then to take a class on emotions and now to be able to have a conversation with you like this, I couldn't even have dreamt of it. I mean, it just wasn't even something that could be possible because of like what you said. I have Tourette's, this neurological genetic disorder that's involuntary and has no cure. Luckily, because of what Keith created, and with Nancy Salzman, who also is in jail now, I've been able to go on a profound journey to live a very different life.
Can I ask you a question?
To answer your question,
do you still get the urge to do ticks, or is that completely gone? Like, where did you cut it off?
So the thing about the itch and the scratch, because of how the courses were very different, it's not like I'm sitting here and my itch is 100% and I'm just like, okay, don't tick, don't say something, hold it back.
Right.
The courses were different than any other thing that I did, is because by going on that exploration, I found out that my itch was way more emotional and psychological than it was physiological.
Oh,
and as a result, and working internal issues I had, anger stuff, beliefs about all this sorts of stuff, as a result of that, my itch went down. So right now,
down to 0?
Do I still have an itch?
Yeah.
It's not at 0, but it's probably at 4 out of 100.
Okay.
So to call that Tourette's is not, I don't even think of it as Tourette's. I think of it as I'm a person that has a body, and all of us have uncomfortable things. And what I come to understand, and this is for me, is that ultimately I was, in a sense, had an impulse disorder. That doesn't mean I had a neurological disorder.
I found
And
this
as I
video
worked things,
or this old video of you I found really compelling from 14 years ago. Do you mind if I watch it real fast for the audience, just to
Sure,
kind of give you
absolutely.
some background? Yeah, so this is from 14.
Absolutely.
This was 14 years ago from a local news story or something like that, right? That covered your story.
Yeah, yes.
And did you? Yeah. So okay, let me watch it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were about to press play.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna press play right now. Okay. Are you okay if I press play?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you were hitting it.
Okay. Can you play it, Dan?
We're just
Oh,
waiting
it's
with-
on me. It's
with
on me.
suspense.
You got
All right.
to hit play.
Are you ready, Mark?
I'm ready.
Okay.
A day before my 17th birthday is when I really ran into the greatest obstacle I had ever encountered with my Tourette syndrome.
A St. Louis area teenager who says he has Tourette syndrome claims he was kicked off a Greyhound bus in Indianapolis because of his disability.
I got on the bus and they made an announcement about my Tourette syndrome. And earlier in line, a lady had heard me saying some inappropriate words. And she stood up and she said, well, how come he can say this word?
With that, this Clayton High junior who turns 17 tomorrow says he was kicked off the bus in Indianapolis.
So your tick was actually to say the N word, right?
Yeah, at different times I was saying what would be the
Wow.
worst thing that I could possibly say in a given
course.
moment. So,
Yeah.
you know, if I was around a fat person, I would want to tick you're fat. If I was around a black person, I would want to tick the N-word.
So at the
It was a
time,
nightmare.
at the time you were on a bus, and with it seems like from this image predominantly black, and then you said the N word on the bus.
Yeah, to make a long story short, I had told the bus driver about my Tourette's before I got on, and then I got on the bus. Then I was ticking it more, and obviously customers were complaining, and rightfully so. I mean, they had no
Right.
idea what was going on.
Mhm.
And then the bus driver, as I've gotten older, I actually thought the company dealt with it as well as they could. I mean, it's just a difficult situation. I mean, just because it's a medical disorder, although I don't see it the same way now, but of course at the time, what do you do? It's just not, I don't think it's as simple as, oh, well, this person has a disability. They just have, can do whatever they want, carte blanche. Like, it's a very difficult thing because I'm also saying something that's offending people. Luckily, nothing bad happened. I was safe. It could have escalated and gotten very bad.
So you went. So did you? Okay. So let me keep watching. So you're on a bus and you said the N word, and then people got mad at you, right? So that's the kind of the. And
Yeah,
then the
and
bus driver
ultimately-
kicked you off. Yeah. So let me keep watching.
And ultimately,
Indianapolis
after a
police
few,
were called. Elliot says he was on his way home from a church youth camp when the incident happened. Elliot and his family say they've traveled all over the country and never been denied access to transportation. His family calls it a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Up to that point,
So do you? So I appreciate that you guys all made it into like kind of turned it into like a crusade here, and went to the local news about it and stuff because it's. Let me. I have a theory for you.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. I think you actually fake having Tourette's. Yeah, I think you actually don't have it.
Well, but
And
I'm open to.
Here's my
What
here's
did
my
you think what did you think I had?
well let me just break it down. I think this is kind of a funny thing. I doubt this is what happened, but maybe you just called someone the N-word on the bus and then you're like, "Oh, no, I have Tourette's." Because what's interesting to me, and I know that's funny, but what's interesting to me is that you've made like a whole career being a motivational speaker about how you cured your Tourette's and stuff, and that's kind of become like a big part of your identity. But what's interesting is, as somebody with Tourette's, I actually have Tourette's. I know it's not curable, so I just find that claim to be absolutely a pseudoscientific, crazy claim that has no backing in science or at all. And I think you're actually, in my opinion, right, as someone with Tourette's, I think you're scamming people. Just let them cook.
Well, first off, did you say that you have Tourette's?
I do have Tourette's.
I didn't
Isn't
know
that
that.
crazy? Yeah, I know. That's why I was so surprised when you emailed me, because I was like, I have Tourette's, and I also fucking hate Andrew Tate. I've like talked like continually and openly, relentlessly about what a piece of shit he is and how much I hate him. And what's interesting too, Mark, is that I've also talked about how much I hate Keith and NXIVM and what a psycho he is. So when I got your email, I was like, this is incredible, and I could totally see how it is you fell into a cult, because you clearly don't do any research.
When I saw when I was watching one of your videos, I thought I saw you ticking, and so it did cross my mind. I said, I wonder if he has Tourette's.
Yeah, I do. He did this to himself.
Why would you
just let him?
So interesting. Why would you? Why would you think someone would fake it? That's a pretty messed up thing for someone to fake.
No, I agree, but you've made a good living from faking it, doing like motivational stuff and writing books and stuff like that. And it's just, as far as I know, and that's just a theory, right? Because I don't know. I mean, I just have Tourette's myself, but obviously I don't know anything about you. So it's just a theory. But I just think that you can't cure it, actually. And on your website, it says you overcame it, mind over body. And that's just not possible.
But that's why, I don't know if you remember what I just said 2 minutes ago, is that we've never claimed it's a cure.
Right. Well, let's see. On the, if we pull up your website, well, when I started, you said you're 100% like over Tourette's, right? You did say that.
Yeah, well, I said that I don't think of it as I have Tourette's anymore.
Right. You don't have it anymore.
I guess what I could say is, yeah, the fact that you don't like Tate and you don't like Raniere is not a reason that I couldn't talk to someone. If anything, it's about, that's not the point of trying to find people that love him. It's if you can find people, even if somebody hates someone, the question is, do we believe that there should be due process in this country? And are we okay with government officials or FBI agents committing crimes to convict a man? So by somebody not liking it,
but in the email,
by someone,
but
somebody not liking him is, if anything, is definitely better. I definitely did not research deeply every single person. Obviously,
at all. Well, you didn't look. You actually didn't look into it at all. Like the most basic. But let me break it down, Mark, because in a way, I see you as.
Well, just to be very.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to be very blunt.
Go ahead. Yeah, be blunt.
Yeah, you are right. I did not do research.
Yeah.
Someone that I know, who's Keith, currently he's been sitting in the SHU for over 200 days. So they're basically torturing a U.S. citizen, while at the same time he has filed in the Eastern District of New York with 4 former FBI agents showing that the FBI tampered with digital evidence. And they're now escalating the torture, and they might ship him to what's known as a CMU.
Can I read an excerpt
which is a communications?
Can I read an excerpt for you? It says, this is from your website. This is your website, right? MarcElliot.com.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to beat your Tourette's? I want to help you, but currently the government has threatened to put me in jail for being public about how I completely overcame my Tourette's with NXIVM.
Yep.
So when you say completely overcame, I just assumed that meant like that you have a cure for it.
Yeah, I can address that in a second. We can talk about that. But the point is that,
can you cure like bipolar or something? Can you cure like schizophrenia? Because that would be really good for a lot of people.
The reason, so because of how big the case is, and I'm reaching out to people that have influence. I believe that even though you might hate those people, and I didn't know the depth of how much you dislike them, but is that there's something that we can agree upon? I thought at least
here's
that
something.
Are we okay?
Well, we can all agree on we can all agree on photos. Here's photos of his initials being branded into women who accused him of running a clandestine sex cult. Here's his initials branded into their skin. Here's an up close for you. It says his initial, Keith Raniere, is branded into their skin.
What's your point? That's not what I'm here to talk to you about.
Oh, my point? The point is,
no,
that was just for fun. That was just like a funsies thing.
Yeah, but the thing
is just like a fun little group building exercise. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Why did he do this? Because if I'm curious, I want to
But
ask you.
the
Why
thing
did
is,
he
if
do
you're
it?
gonna if you're gonna say things, they need to be factual.
They're just kinky.
Keith
They're just a little
Raniere,
kinky.
but Keith Raniere didn't brand anyone.
Oh, right.
He's not even in the
He
room.
coerced people to do
He's
it.
not.
Yeah, so coercion's
But
a
he's
crime,
not. But
actually. I think coercion is a crime. Sex trafficking usually happens through coercion, not by locking people to a radiator. So that, I think, is where we kind of disconnect there. And actually, what's crazy is the jury agreed with me. 12 people agreed.
I had told you before. I know I had told you before.
Oh,
that
and the appeal
blackmail
court.
is a crime.
Oh, what's crazy is he appealed, and then the appeals court also upheld these 7 horrific charges against him. So that's like a lot of people.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Like I had said, I had said to you in the very beginning is that I believe most of things are not true out there. That doesn't mean there isn't kernels of truth. I wanted to talk to you about something that I think is greater than Keith Raniere, the fact that we have evidence that shows that the FBI committed crimes.
Yeah, but the FBI I agree with you that the FBI is shitty and they do that kind of stuff. But even if we discount everything the FBI allegedly, or you say let's just assume for the sake of this conversation that they did do that, then you still have to explain all these other charges. Like even if he didn't have child pornography on a hard drive, right? And let's just say he didn't do it, it was a conspiracy. Or maybe they changed the metadata. There's still racketeering, forced labor, wire fraud, sex trafficking, extortion. So do you have you know what I mean? So there's kind of an issue here. If you're,
well, we've been, the thing is, look, this is the first time we've ever met, Ethan.
Yeah.
I said to you in the email that if you want to have more of an open, rational conversation where we can challenge things. In the first half of this, I talked to you about some of the facts that it sounded like you were agreeing with. I didn't realize that you were just trying to play me. The things that I said, I stand by. I don't need to change anything, even though now I know that I guess you were trying to have sort of a gotcha moment. But like I said, with the photos, with the woman, the HBO thing, the sex trafficking, which is a single sex act with no money exchange, these are things that if someone wants to have a conversation.
Right, but you got to understand that no money exchanged and him not doing it himself is kind of the quintessential of a cultish kind of racketeering, like manipulative, coercive act. Like he's not the first person, right? Like Charles Manson, for example. Is Charles Manson guilty of murder? Well, answer that. Is Charles Manson guilty of murder? He never did anything.
I don't know enough.
Okay, I'll explain it to you. Charles Manson, people say he was a member of a cult. His disciples went under his order or coercion to go and murder this family, right? And so his lawyer said, well, he didn't do anything. He wasn't even there. And so the question is, do you think Charles Manson is guilty? He was in jail right now for being involved in their murders, even though he wasn't there. He never held a knife in his hand. You know what I mean? And no money was exchanged. He didn't even pay them to do it.
I have.
Oh, he's dead. That's a correction. Let me issue a factual correction.
No, but this is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about the case. Obviously, I know of Charles Manson because of of how it's been. He's a very popularized name.
He's probably innocent too, right?
Well, I don't know, but what I do believe and what I'm absolutely will stand by is that I do think no matter how hated a person is, we should be absolutely open to questioning narratives. We should be able to question.
I think
witnesses. We should be able.
I think part of a redemption of accepting people who are bad starts with them, coming to terms with what they've done.
But that's what I said from the get-go. I said, I'm not on here to try to get you to like Keith Raniere. But you can, I don't know if you remember, I did say to you, you can think he's the devil.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think he's the devil.
Do you remember when I said that? No, but my point is, if someone wants to believe that.
So you're saying we need to
That's not what I'm.
You're saying we need to take the time to look at the kind of the facts and the situations and come to just with our whole hearts and minds, come to a rational decision.
Well, my question to you is,
there's a trial.
Do you believe that there are?
That's a trial, by the way. He lost 2 of them.
No, but do you believe that it is okay under any circumstance for the government or government officials, whether it's a prosecutor whether it's a judge, whether it's an FBI agent, to commit a crime, to convict
of course
a person.
not. No, never. Dude.
If we
hell
agree
no.
on that, Ethan,
Yeah.
if you and I can agree on that,
Yeah.
that's all that matters. And that's why I'm
Really?
here. I don't care.
That doesn't seem very
because-
significant. Like I mean, we can both agree that Krispy
Well,
Kreme donuts are great, taste great, but that doesn't
Why do
fucking
you-
really
why
have
do you
any.
think- why do you
and that
think
doesn't have
that's-
nothing to
why
do
do you
with like
think that's not-
wire fraud and racketeering.
Why do you believe that that's not significant?
Because it doesn't affect all the other unrelated crimes he was convicted of.
But no, but I think that the part where we're just missing is
Sure.
that you keep making it about this case. What I'm saying is what I'm addressing affects every single case in the United
This
States.
is bigger than Keith.
Yeah, Keith is not bigger than the justice system. If you allow or you are okay permitting government officials to commit crimes, to convict even a hated person, what you ultimately are saying is that you believe that prejudice and hate are more important than justice.
Here's you and Keith. He has really nice skin. Fuck.
The thing is,
I'm
trying to have a serious conversation.
No,
with
I was
you.
just struck by his
And-
really nice skin. Did he ever drop?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, out of respect, I'm trying to have a conversation with you about something that affects millions of people around the justice. Millions of people in the justice system and are affected by our justice system. This isn't about Keith. It is about Keith because this is the specific case and the specific evidence that we have. Do you mind if I take a moment and read some of the quotes from the FBI agents?
No, I don't want to do that. Let me ask you this. I don't even blame you because honestly, in a sense, you're kind of the victim of you know what I mean? Like you're part of this organization that clearly has some powerful hold over you. And I'm really sorry that you're involved in this. And I just like Keith is gone. He can't hurt you anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're free, bro.
I appreciate the I do believe that I'm free. I'm an adult that makes decisions in my
Just
own
like
life.
that girl
And
in
if
the
there's-
room, you're free, man. Just walk through the door.
What I can say again is I reached out to you. I'm trying to talk about things that there's a lot of prejudice against talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You have a case that has international attention, that has a lot of hate and a lot of prejudice. And now we have
we're kind of, you've said that. It's okay. Listen, I really do wish the best for you. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with all this stuff. It seems like you're going through a lot. And I just, I'm sorry, man. I don't know if there's anything, do they have photos of you? Like they must have, because that was their thing, right? Keith had like blackmail
There's
photos.
no photos. For anyone who's listening that wants to find out more, they can go to makejusticeblind.com and they can look at the evidence with respect to the FBI and what I've been talking about here.
This is the video, right? Evidence of historic FBI corruption. This is the one you're talking about.
Could we at least watch?
One of the guys is Alan Dershowitz. He represented. He's Epstein's lawyer.
Could we play it from the beginning? It's only 2 minutes.
You know what? I'll do that for you. We've been through a lot together.
Awesome.
I'll play you the Dersh.
Well, no. I'm saying, can you play it from the beginning, which is the experts, which is actually what's most important.
Well, he is in this video, so I'm assuming he's an expert.
But he's under the section of advocates in the beginning of the 2-minute video. There's the whole section on experts. It's only 2 minutes. I'd be grateful if you play that at least.
He's an advocate. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
If this alleged FBI malfeasance turns out to be true, as our experts say it is, then this is really historic. This is really an attempt to frame somebody based on manipulation of data. That's just unacceptable in an American court and in the American legal system.
I'm the former United.
He's the man, bro. Alan Dersh.
But the thing is there a reason you can't play it from the beginning? It's only a minute.
I'm afraid that it's compelling, frankly. I don't want. No, I will play it. I'll play it. So these people. So these are all former FBI people. Okay, I'm gonna play it.
Some of them are former.
I owe that to you. I owe that to you. Yeah, I owe that to you. I'm gonna play it.
Awesome.
Experts versus Keith.
I worked in the FBI for about 10 years. It is clear that the photos in this case were planted there.
This is the most serious.
How did they get the photos to examine? Because there's apparently child pornography on the photos. It seems kind of like a hot potato. And
let's just
very,
finish.
And I hesitate to call pictures of child pornography a hot potato. You know what I mean?
They're not looking at. No one's looking at pictures of child porn. They're looking
The
at
metadata.
the files, the file data.
Right, the metadata. Okay, got it.
Tampering with evidence that I've ever seen.
It's inescapable that the FBI proactively created fake evidence.
Data changed while I was in FBI custody. It was modified. It was altered.
In 25 years of digital forensic investigations, 5 of which was with the FBI.
Zach, can you turn it down?
The amount of technical ability and premeditation to perform this fraud in the case against Mr. Ranieri, I've never seen anything like that.
In my 20 years experience with the FBI, I have never seen data manipulation, evidence tampering, anything like this on this scale.
When I first read the papers that Mr. Ranieri presented on tampering, I was shocked.
I've never seen an instance where the system threw away its credibility purely for the purpose of convicting a defendant.
If it could happen to a person who is educated, who is white, who has the complexion for acceptance, as I would say, none of us are safe.
There's no need to fabricate evidence for a guilty man. The fact that they fabricated evidence here, and to the degree that they did, shocks the conscience.
If this alleged FBI malfeasance turns out to be true, as our experts say it is, then this is really historic. This is really an attempt to frame somebody based on manipulation of data. That's just unacceptable in an American court and in the American legal system.
I'm the former United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas. In the face of this alarming evidence, there's really no excuse for the court or for the prosecutor to hide behind procedural delays and waiting to get to the bottom of this. They should take immediate action, and if they can't or they won't, the United States Attorney General should appoint an independent prosecutor. If an independent investigation determines that this tampering occurred, there must be accountability. People have to be criminally prosecuted. This is very serious.
Okay. Shortly after Mr. Renner's legal team first exposed this corruption, the government retaliated.
Yeah, I mean, what I know that you were playing the music, which was unfortunate, and making the jokes. You know, these are people, whether or not, again, whether you hate Keith Raniere or whatever you think about NXIVM, you know, these are very people that have served our country. Those are 4 FBI agents, other distinguished experts. There's also a former U.S. prosecutor. You know, again, if you don't want to hear that,
I do.
agree,
you know
that's
what?
okay.
Here's what I just want to. I'm going to give you the. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. Wait, I'm serious. I want to give you the platform. I'm just going to step away because, listen, obviously we've been doing some goofs here, and I feel I owe it to you. I'm going to step away. I'm going to sit right here and listen, but I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm just going to let you say your thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All I'll say is, first, thank you again for allowing me to come on. I didn't appreciate sort of the way it went. But even with that, what I'm talking about today and the video that you saw with these experts, these are serious, serious things that we're talking about. I think that's.
What's wrong? What happened?
Well, thank you for that. Yeah.
Do you want to give a closing statement or anything?
No, I think that they're just putting things on the screen.
Oh, it's just that helps people's attention span because it's a little boring, so it's a little dense. So sometimes we put Kinetic Sand or Subway Surfer, it makes it easier to listen.
Gotcha. Thank you for having me on today.
Did you see this photo of you guys, of the 3 amigos? Did you? I'm with you, by the way. ACAB, brother. 45 place. You know that you don't know how to turn off Zoom. You're trying, but you can't get away. How do you get out of this? You're trapped.
No, there's no trouble. Well, again, nice to meet you, Ethan. And thanks for having me on today.
I'm sorry to put you all through that. Ultimately, you are the victim, and I hope Ramirez dies in prison. I really do. I really do. But one day you're going to be free of this, and I'll be there to help you. I'm so sorry. This is Keith's fault that you went through this. It really is, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. All right, take care.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. Oh God.
He hung up.
Yeah, I know. I actually feel bad for him at the end there.
Yeah.
But to be
it's
fair,
extremely embarrassing.
But to be completely fair, this man walked into like a comet-sized chasm of a death trap. You can turn back on chat.
All right, I'll turn it back on.
Like, when I got this email from him that I read you guys, I was like, is this guy for real? And so I passed it to Dan to set it up. And sure enough, this guy thought I was an Andrew Tate defender who loves fucking Keith Ramirez. And also, he didn't know I have Tourette's syndrome, which put me in kind of a unique position to talk to him about Tourette's. And that was a very stressful situation. I didn't see him ticking once. Just saying.
Must be effective.
I'm sorry. I honestly feel bad. I do feel bad. That man is crushed. But you know what? At the end of the day, definitely do a tiny bit of research for calling into one of the biggest podcasts in the world to do a live show about one of the most hated men in the world.
I will say, I really admire your ability to continue to be confrontational throughout an entire exchange. Like, at some point, I was like, "Oh man, like, is he gonna like loosen up a bit?" And you, no, you didn't. And I mean, I stand by what you did. I love that.
I could not let him spread propaganda unchecked.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If his Tourette's was cured, it's definitely coming back after this interview.
You'd be screaming the N-word all night.
Oh my God, that was like as crazy as I hoped that could have been.
That was clean.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure what direction it was going to go. I mean, we were talking about it before the show, but I still was unsure if he was.
I'm blown away.
Being sarcastic in his email because it was just so wrong about every aspect of you.
Right.
That it almost seemed like sarcasm. So I thought he was going to come out of the gate aggressive, but no, he seemed to just not actually research anything at all. Like even just a Google search.
Bro.
He didn't even know you had Tourette's.
Yes, I know. He didn't even, but like, if you search my name, it's probably like all highlights of me talking shit on Andrew Tate. And I've done so much content about NXIVM.
That too.
Oh. Holy fuck, dude. I don't think I've ever seen someone get cooked like that in my whole life.
That was
flawless
victory right there.
I had to walk away so you can.
Yeah, I walked away for a sec.
There one point when I was reading out every 20 charges, I was like, this is so absurd. And it took him a long time, and he was hesitant to accept the fact that I was goofing.
You ate him up, and you
left no crumb.
There you go. He's learning. He's learning.
Clearly, he sees the best in people. So
yes,
maybe that's why he had.
I mean, I'm glad you said what you said about him being a victim in a way, because I mean,
that's it. I felt
pretty
really bad.
Classic Stockholm syndrome kind of thing.
In 30 years from now, you're gonna get emails saying, "Dude, I fucked up. I'm sorry about that."
I'll be there with open arms.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm waiting for him.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us.
We even got the Subway Surfer on him, dude. And the Nook. I mean, that was something else, man.
When he saw the Manson photo, my heart dropped a little bit. He made a very sad face when he saw that.
Well, I don't think
Three amigos.
He said he didn't know anything about Charles Manson.
Well, he's lying.
He knew something when he saw that fucking photo.
he knows about Charles Manson.
Right.
Everybody does. Enough, you know what I mean?
Sure.
He does have beautiful skin, though, Keith. I was like, whoa. He must use like What's that serum that's really popular?
Adrenochrome?
No, not that one. Whatever. He must use the ordinary.
That's what I was gonna say, and then I was like, mm-mm.
Well, they have a great product. Doesn't matter.
They do. Wonderful hyaluronic acid.
You know, fuck me, dude.
You know, this guy, it seems like he seems very nice and well, you know, pretty well spoken, articulate, and
His heart seems good.
yeah, and you know, he's a good looking guy and everything. It's just, that's what I mean. It's just like a little sad. It's just, why do you feel the need to die on this hill? Like, can't you, even if you think that Keith is innocent, like making that your thing to like campaign for like
he's in a cult.
convicted sex. That's why I thought it was interesting you asked him about the photos, and maybe he doesn't have any blackmail over him. But
So NXIVM is well known for holding dirt or blackmail
yeah, it's
over
just like
someone to make
Scientology.
sure they stay in line.
Right.
And he's in a cult. I mean, it's the same way Scientologists will like follow people with cameras and fucking abuse them relentless. They're convinced they're right, and it's the whole world that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks, man.
But when you have titans like Alan Dershowitz on your side, you know you're
Dubs all around. The Dersh, baby.
I can't believe he's in that video. My jaw dropped.
Of course he is. That man's willing to defend goddamn Adolf Hitler.
He has never seen a pedophile that he wouldn't defend.
Right.
Alan Dershowitz.
And I mean, it's just so much stacked against Keith. He has 120 years. And I'm like, he seems to be singularly focused on the FBI tampering. So I says, okay, let's even give you that. I mean, still, this man is a prolific criminal, even without that. And then he says,
seems to think it's all. If I was understanding him correctly, it seemed like if you take out this one piece, this one photo of a 15-year-old girl, the whole thing collapses. Which, like,
it's just not.
I didn't follow the case super closely, but when I was researching, I researched quite a bit over the weekend to just familiarize myself with everything, and at least from my understanding of it, the whole metadata aspect is not the smoking gun that got him convicted. So even if you remove that, if they got a retrial and they remove that, I'm pretty certain they would still be able to find a second conviction.
Well, they had 15 victim statements. This girl who was in the photos, Camille, who says that he took her virginity when she was 15, who was in those photos, said it was him.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least I think so. I mean, I can read this.
Well, there's more too. Yeah. There's a bunch.
I don't
of
know
text
if he said
messages
it was him
between
or
them.
not. I know he's going to try to sue me if anything. Little thing.
Wait, said it was who?
Camille was the girl who was in the photos, the child P word.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And
right.
she gave a victim impact statement
after
that
the
says,
trial. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, according to her, she was groomed from like age 12, and Keith Raniere took her virginity when she was underage. So,
and he seems to think that like the fact that he coerced people and never actually carried out the crime himself somehow means he's innocent, which is like really wild. He's a cult leader.
Yeah, that also seems to be a lot of
That's what
human
racketeering is,
trafficker-
essentially.
Yeah, it's a lot of excuses in the Andrew
Racketeer-
Tate situation.
I mean, racketeering is literally that. They invented that so they could prosecute mob bosses because they never actually committed the crimes.
Right.
That's what racketeering literally is. I feel bad for him though, man. If you ever want to talk again, bro, I'm here for you. I'm not even joking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for you, man. Genuinely, if you want to turn a new leaf,
it's not your fault.
It is not. It's so that's so on point. It's not your
It's
fault.
not your fault.
I'm genuinely here for you, bro. Because like people, I feel bad. As people say, when you kill someone for the first time, it really sticks with you, and they're right.
It's not your fault. This wasn't your first murder victim.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making a joke. Thank you. And then, what was your take on the Tourette's thing? Because my thing with his Tourette's is like, he's made a whole career out of being a motivational speaker because he overcame Tourette's. And obviously he didn't know Tourette's. So I was like, this is fucking incredible because nobody else is going to be able to accuse him of this shit. And when I
don't think anyone else would. It's such a Larry David. You had a real Larry David moment with that.
But it is suspect. Like
I see. I don't have Tourette's, so I don't feel comfortable saying that. I mean, I think
very
it's certainly
suspect.
plausible, or I don't think it's a stretch to say that he had it. And like we were talking about before the show, the NXIVM, they have like their therapy was like these like 7 pseudosciences, and then also cognitive behavioral therapy was a part of it too, and that can like help reduce tics.
It helps you manage and control them.
Which it sounded like that's what he was.
No, he
describing.
says no. He said he started backpedaling when he realized I had Tourette's.
Right.
But on his website, and when he first came on, he says I have totally conquered my Tourette's.
Right.
That's not possible, and especially if he was walking around saying the N word, that's like super, super, super severe Tourette's. So the fact that he went from like fully blown, like worst case scenario Tourette's to like, I'm gonna sit here for an hour and not have one visible tick is really fucking
in a very stressful
insane.
situation too, by the way.
Why does it lie?
At least for the second half.
But I mean,
I don't
to me, it's like saying, oh yeah, I can cure bipolar disease, schizophrenia, OCD. Just come talk to Keith Raniere's; he'll take care of it. Like that's just not real. And then he backed up. He said, "I'm 4 out of 100 Tourette's."
Right, which that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
you're saying that it was only because you called him out. I mean,
He definitely backpedaled when I told him I had Tourette's.
All right. I mean,
because he knows he can't say if he's selling some kind of course or inspirational. He can't say I cured Tourette's. So
Right,
he
so
was
he just doesn't
tiptoeing
use the
around
word cure.
being fraudulent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as somebody with 35% Tourette's, let me tell you this. I know what I'm talking.
You'd say yours is 35 out of 100? Is that
Yeah,
what yours is
35
at?
out of 100. Use that 4.
5% means everything.
I feel bad for him though. That was a lot.
I bet Keith's on the phone with him right now, chewing him up way worse than you are.
I don't think Keith has access to a phone.
Oh, you don't?
Keith is about to release the photo of that guy like having a pineapple up his ass or something. That's
So now that we have it confirmed that he wasn't coming in here, trying to argue with you or whatever, and he really did think that you would be sympathetic to his plight, was he just mass emailing like every podcast in existence, and we were just happened to be the only one that took notice? And
it could be he was copy pasting. He said, "Hi, dear H3." Oh yeah, because dude, okay. Can you say he addressed this email to Dear H3 Podcast Highlights?
Oh, I caught that. That's right.
He
forgot about that.
emailed me Dear H3 Podcast Highlights. And I was about to erase it because I was like, this is a bot or some fucking Indian farmer who's trying to.
Why the hell?
But
did
then I
you
was like,
open?
oh shit. Oh shit. My name is Marc Elliot. I'm an award-winning speaker who lived with Tourette's for 20 years, and I beat it completely. So already I'm perking up like, oh, what the fuck? And then I was part of the now infamous NXIVM. I was like, what? And then he goes, I recently saw your coverage of poking holes in Andrew Tate narrative.
Yeah, that's really the part. Because up until that point, it
What?
could be like, oh, you were in the NXIVM call and you want to like talk about your experience and stuff.
Well, when
then,
he-
like it's the Andrew Tate.
When he
line where
said
it
he
starts to
beat,
go off the rails a little bit.
no, it was when he said he beat Tourette's. That's when he went off the rails for me. I was like, yo, this guy's wild.
Somebody in the chat just said he was on Theo Vaughn's podcast once.
No fucking shot.
I'm watching that right now.
Talking about
actually.
what?
He talks about his Tourette's at one point. The part I'm watching.
So this is what I'm saying. This guy's built a whole career. He's on tour telling people they can cure their Tourette's if they stop being pussies about it.
Right, which again would have made sense if he knew that you had Tourette's and was specifically reaching out to you.
No,
you're a famous
yeah.
influencer that has it, but it wasn't even that either. It's
Dear
like,
H3 Podcast Highlights. Let me send you an image of this because I think it's worth seeing. Yeah, that thumbnail's good, Cam. Obviously, I didn't want to title it because I didn't want to give the game away, and that's why I disabled chat too and made a very cryptic title because I really wanted this to land, and
Yeah,
it did.
the name of Theo's episode is "The Man Who Overcame Tourette's."
See, now to me, that's insanely fucking offensive. You don't overcome Tourette's, and the implication is that everyone else is weak. that everyone else is just being a giant pussy who hasn't been enlightened yet. You don't. It's not something you overcome. It's something you live with and you learn to live with. It's crazy. You can't. It's just fucked up to put that into the world. Like, oh yeah, did you get your Tourette's cured yet? Like people that watch that, it's crazy. By the way, let me send you this. I just want to show you so you can pull it up because this email is pretty iconic. And he was emailing you quite a lot, right, Dan? So he had a lot of opportunities to look into the show.
This all started like over 2 weeks ago, and so again, if I ever found myself in a position where I was being invited on a podcast, I don't know why that would ever happen. But if I did, I would probably at least Google once.
Well, but he emailed you like 30 times.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there was plenty of time, and there was back and forth and stuff as we tried to land on a date to do this, and I don't know.
Can you pull an excerpt?
Next time, do a little bit of research.
Just a little. But that's what I said. I understand how you fell into this cult. I mean, you have zero critical thinking abilities.
At no point, and there was quite a bit of back and forth, but it was very formal and brief just about the logistics. And, I didn't go out of my way to try and mislead him that we were going to somehow be.
We didn't say anything.
It's very just like, hi, nice to meet you. What dates would work for you? Just
I did the same. I didn't want to be guilty of misleading him or entrapping him. He emailed me. I responded with simply, I forwarded it to Dan. I don't think I said, hi, Mark, would you be interested in calling into our show? That's all I said. He said, hi, H3, thanks for getting back to me. I'd love to. When were you thinking? Then I tagged Dan. I said, I'll have my producer, Dan, email you. So like there was no...
Yeah, and the rest of it is just like technical stuff.
We handled that like very professionally. Can you show that email? I want to show how you addressed it to...
Here, I'll just screenshot. I guess it doesn't show any... There you go. Okay.
Yeah, here. This is the email I got. He addressed me as Dear H3 Podcast Highlights. So...
Very odd.
Yeah, he's just... I don't know, man. Like, do you see how, in a way, if you're really impressed by Keith, you should be really impressed what I just did. So,
well, you haven't cured any neurological disorders or anything, so.
Well, a stupid neurological disorder. I think he just got a pretty strong dose in how not to be stupid. I don't know.
Healed me from poverty.
Do you find any good excerpts from the Theo Von? Because I'm sure he's out there being like, yeah, I cured this shit. Everyone else is a giant lame-o.
Also, just real quick, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to somebody on Reddit known as Incorruptible BK, who runs the NXIVM case subreddit. You were a massive help in researching this weekend. You've really stayed on top of this whole case and tracked it. I found a lot of fantastic information on there. And I see...
Are they buzzing?
I see 55 minutes ago that Incorruptible BK posted a link to our episode on that subreddit. It said, maybe too late to catch it live, but Ethan Klein brought Marc Elliot on his podcast and is just absolutely toying with him. So shout out to Incorruptible BK for your assistance.
Thank you, Nick Clark, for the 20. He says, I'm wheezing right now. Bella Simmons, who's a legend, said that was amazing. Billiam Whatlicker. 5 gifted. Thank you. God bless. Nick Clark, 50. That man was a rotisserie chicken. Are you watching the Theo Von thing?
Yeah, nothing too interesting yet.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, because I didn't eat breakfast today, can you bring out we got Subway. I'm just going to eat to the side. I don't want to just disrupt the experience or anything, but God damn, that went like way because to be honest, we were talking last night. We were kind of nervous. So I was like, I don't know how this is going to go.
Sorry. I still didn't even know what his attitude was. Because, like, again, you can read that same email as him being kind of sarcastic towards you.
I didn't see that. I thought it's exactly what I thought it would be. In terms
it was.
of
No, absolutely, it was. Yeah.
The top comment on Theo Von's is very inspiring to have a man who beat Tourette's and a man who beat Down syndrome in the same room talking.
I think Theo probably jokes that he has Downs or something.
So this guy's been on tour for 4 years. He had Theo Von. He was on Theo Von's show. You know.
Well, that would have
Fredo.
been was 4 years ago before everything came crashing down on NXIVM.
Yeah, it must have been because when I watched the first documentary about NXIVM, Keith was still out. He was still at large, and then at one point he was on the run in Mexico. I don't know the whole timeline. I feel bad for him though. Honestly, at the end of the day, he was very even in the face of like being called out. He was very mild mannered. I don't know.
That's what I was saying. It's just it's sad that he, like, this dude could probably, you know, make something of himself in something that isn't defending a convicted child predator.
Well, anyway,
branch out.
If you're
branch out a
there-
little bit.
If you're out there watching, Mark, I'm here for you, buddy. I'll adopt you like Aiden Ross.
That's sweet.
I already have 2 kids, but fuck it.
What do you think? I won't
Aiden
say.
can have a brother.
I won't say their name to call them out, but what do you think of this comment in the chat that we were bullying him and it was really hard to watch?
We were bullying him. There's no question about it. That's why I feel bad.
Bullying me.
But at a certain point, this man, he's so special because I can bully him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's worthy of being bullied.
I mean,
for how dumb it was to approach me, he's literally part of a sex cult. He's defending a pedophile rapist.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point where the sympathy kind of disappeared for me is when he wouldn't outright say it, but heavily implying that the child R-word victim was just making it up and lying.
I would say that's worse than bullying.
Yeah, that's pretty scummy.
This girl who was brave enough to come out, who's
Kind of
been
worth
brainwashed from
bullying
the
her.
age of 12. This
Yeah.
man, he all but said she's lying.
Yeah, he
And then there's
didn't want to
50
fully say that, but you know, read between the
There's
lines.
15 other victims
They're all making it up.
and he goes, well, they're not under oath. It's basically like a random tweet.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, good thing. Yeah, they don't even know each other. There's like, they weren't even like known associates.
Is that the girl he said was just kinky too?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that's a psycho.
He was kinky. They were just kinky.
That was embarrassing.
Yikes.
So yeah, listen, I think we were definitely bullying him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know if it was bullying. To be honest, I'm being facetious, but we definitely grilled him hard, and he walked into a giant trap, and we were talking about something very serious, and I wanted to. Yeah, it's just, what am I justifying? Shut up. If you're uncomfortable, it's not for you. Go join NXIVM.
Agreed.
They're
all about
welcoming
peace
than
and
I
love
am.
over there.
How's the sandwich?
It's actually really good. Just give me a sec. Just give me 1 sec.
Give you a sec to eat.
Yeah, just give
Kind of doing a show here.
Lunchtime.
No. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
Can I get a straw? Oh, there it is. Okay. Cool.
Love Subway.
That NXIVM dude is still watching. Like, what the fuck?
Should have done this while you're still on the call. Yeah, hold on, Mark. I just got to eat real quick.